Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Grief Angels. I am your host, Rose Gishure. This is episode 4. I am super excited about the journey that we have come. It's been almost 2 months now, and I can't be more excited. Thank you very much for everybody who has engaged with us over the last couple of weeks in our socials, shared their story, DM'd us, liked our podcast, shared with somebody who needed it. Thank you very much, because you are actually doing what we hope that you will do with this podcast. Continue sharing. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so. We are releasing episodes every other week, and we want you to stay informed and to stay with us on this grief journey. Now, with me in studio is a interesting person who I'm going to introduce just now. But before I introduce the person, let me introduce the topic for the day. The topic for the day today is adult orphans, or being orphaned as an adult. So when you think about an orphan, what your mind goes to is a child who has lost both parents. If you Google the definition of an orphan, Google actually comes back with a child who's under 18. But then that leaves the question for what happens if I lose my parents in my 20s, or if I've lost one parent, like in my case, I lost my dad at 13 years old. And then in my 20s, at 26, I lost my mom. Does that make me an orphan? Is there even an age limit to being an orphan? Those are some of the questions we're going to discuss today. This conversation comes from the second episode where we discussed coping with grief during Christmas holidays. And this person that I mentioned, who's my guest today, actually reached out to me and said they'd like to share their story for the first time in public. So I'm really, really honored that she's able to share her story today. She's lost both parents like me, and that's what we're discussing. Can you still be called an orphan in adult age? And what does that actually mean? So we'll navigate that conversation today. And with that, welcome Muthoni to the show.
Thank you.
I am
Thank you
so
for
excited
having me.
for you wanting to share your story. It's quite courageous of you and brave of you. So good job. And
Thank you.
question number one, before you even get to tell us who you are, why did you want to share your story now?
I honestly have no answer to that.
Okay.
Some things I think happen
When they should.
When they should.
Yeah.
It just feels the time is right, but I cannot give you a mission statement
Yeah.
on the why.
Yeah, and it's okay if there's no big answer to it. Yeah. And I told you when we spoke, maybe by the end of the episode you will find your why. Maybe you'll never find why you wanted to share now, which is fine. I'm just glad that you're sharing your story. One of the things that we say at Grief Angels podcast is it's when you share your story, it's part of your healing journey, right? No matter how many years it's been, it's part of just you getting to go through your grief and work through your grief by telling your story. Because you might feel like, maybe I should just keep my story to myself. Nobody cares about it. But actually, share your story. Tell people about your parents. Let them know about the loss that you have undergone in your life. Let us know. So tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do, and then you can talk to us about your grief journey.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I must say that. Thank you. Fantastic show you have.
You're welcome.
Keep going. My name is Muthoni Muchai. I'm a lover of life. I invest in people, and I love Jesus. I am a mom to 3 babies, all under 5 years, and I am married to one man. I am a marketer and brand strategist by profession. I am an educator. I lecture at the university, and I am a life coach. I focus on personal excellence and business coaching.
That is a mouthful.
It is.
Take a breather. That is such a, but good job. That is a lot.
Yep.
Where do you find the time?
Well, life has it that. No, I think when your passion and your purpose merge, it doesn't feel like a lot. Yeah. Everything is aligned and everything works for you.
That's
true. So it's not a lot for me.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good to hear. So then tell us about your grief journey. We know you've lost both parents. When was this, when you lost your parents? How old were you even when this happened? And even how old were they? And I'll tell you where I'm asking how old were they, but start with the other questions that I asked first.
All right. So my dad rested in 2010, August the 10th.
Okay.
I was 24.
Okay.
It was sudden, but not so sudden.
Okay.
He was just unwell for a couple of months, in and out of hospital, medical tests here and there, seeing many doctors. And then eventually, I guess towards the end, so it was under a year, maybe even less than 6 months, I'd say, maybe 6-7 months, he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, or cancer of the pancreas, rather.
Yeah.
So if you know about cancer of the pancreas, it's one of the world's deadliest.
Yeah, it's very quick.
It was discovered in stage 4, and unfortunately, he arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how old was he?
He was 55
He was
years
55.
old.
That's young.
Then, of course, our folks look very old.
Yeah, they're
There's no,
always, 'cause-
they just look old. We found them when we were born, they're just old. But then when we think about it now, I am coming to my 40s.
yeah.
You're like, 55 is pretty young. It's
right?
wow. I'll be there in maybe slightly over 10
Yeah,
years,
you're
and I'm
like,
like, wow,
"Shucks."
Yeah. So yeah, he was 55.
What is his name? We always say their name. What is
My dad's name is Paul Gitahi
Paul
Washira.
Gitahi. Okay.
Yeah.
Paul Gitahi Washira. Good stuff. Good
Yeah, we
stuff.
used to call him Snoop.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Why?
He looks like Snoop.
Oh, he
Yeah.
does. Okay.
We thought he did.
Okay,
Or the
okay.
estate kids thought he did.
What about your mom?
My mom rested in 2021, February 21st. And this was rather sudden because it was under a month of feeling unwell, quick procedure here and there. Next minute, it's one thing after the other thing. And that was it.
This is 11 years after your dad died.
Yeah.
Almost 11 years.
Yeah.
Okay. What is her name?
Agnes Wangeshi Gitahi.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There was no nickname for her?
Gitahi. Moms, mommy, just the usual.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my first question about now having lost both parents, and we can discuss this because I also have lost both my parents. And I'm really, really sorry for this. I wish we never had to go through this. I keep saying,
be here.
or even be here. Like grief and grieving is it's like a club that you didn't apply to be in. You just find yourself here and you're a member and you hate it here and I'd rather not be here. But hey, here we are. Did losing the second parent, your mom now, even my mom in my case, sort of re-trigger the emotions from the first one? Do you feel like, or what is that experience for you?
Yes and no. Yes, because the loss is apparent. With the first loss, you're grieving with your mom.
Exactly.
Your mom is there. You're all in it. Confusion, you're only 24. So the other losses were like grand folks. And of course, it wasn't as tight as your nuclear
and also you
family.
expect it. It's a natural way of life. Your grandfolks should...
Except, I don't know if... I'm not sure that's the word.
Okay.
But I think it's just... You've never had this kind of tight relationship. This is in-house. This is within your four walls. This is somebody you see every day and you have a relationship with. So did the other trigger the others? Yes and no. Yes, because yes, the loss is apparent. But no, because you realize as you grow older, the relationships were different. And therefore you grieved differently. You grieve differently.
They were.
The longer you have with somebody, you have rooted. Your relationship is rooted.
Yeah.
Now in my case, 24, really, what did I know? Now losing my mom, having 3 children, I am married, I'm a business owner. Life has really happened
for
and you've
you.
been with her every single stage, even
she's
then, and you're like,
you.
wow.
Yeah.
So that was the first loss I grieved without her.
Okay. Because almost she sort of carried you along, or she was there for every other grief that you had either gone through.
Yeah, which were not so many actually. There were not that many. If there were, they were a little distant. Okay. So it's not the same. The
reason I'm asking you is, again, just preparing for this episode, I did a lot of reading, obviously, and I came across something very interesting, which said, I think this is a psychologist somewhere writing and saying, and I was actually trying to relate it back to my own story. So the thing that I read was, when the first parent dies, again, you say 24 years old, I was 13, teenage. My whole world has been shattered, right? But because of the existence of the second parent, you almost rally around now this other parent who's been left to sort of grieve together, like you said, support this parent because they've lost their spouse, the love of their life. It's your dad, yes, but you don't sigh and say, thank God I still have my mom or whatever, but they are there to hold your hand. And then they, in their own grief, are protecting you as the children and you as a child, right? So then now when it happens, because of that hand-holding when the first parent died, and now this second one has gone, that hand-holding is not there. So that is what the whole retriggering question was around. But I guess it's different things to different people.
It is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I might say a lot of unconventional things.
It's fine.
I really don't think there was any hand-holding. Everybody, right now, in hindsight, everybody was grieving the best way they knew how. today, with the information I have, having gone through grief therapy and done all those things,
Yeah.
I wish I could somewhat turn back the hands of time. I wish I had the information I have today. I had it then. I would actually support my mom more. We are kids. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody's supposed to be rallying
Yeah.
around you.
Yeah.
You've lost your dad.
Yeah.
Your mom has church people around her, so you're
Yeah.
not checking on her. You really don't know how to be there.
Exactly.
Grief is still like, what's this thing? We're here. Okay, dad's not coming back. Wow,
Yeah.
we've gone shags, we've done the rites, whatever.
Yeah.
You come back home. Oh, wow. And then at that time also for me, I was already working. So maybe for about a year, I'd already been working for about a year. So an opportunity opened up in Tanzania and I jumped at it. Was I escaping? Yes, I was.
Definitely.
Did I escape? Very much
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And I felt I went away and grieved away. So I really wasn't there.
Okay.
So later on, maybe under a year, I came back home and I realized, wow, I need to be there for my mom. And that's when I feel I was there for her.
Okay. Which is
Yeah.
a good thing. And thank you for doing that. This thing you've just said right now is something I told my sister today, because when this thing about being there for your mother as a person who's been left, as a only surviving parent, it's something I struggle with even today, because I keep asking myself, did I do enough? But again, I was 13, I was going through my teenage, my hormones are everywhere. I'm now wondering, and I'm actually writing a letter to my mom in heaven to say, I am really, really sorry.
Yeah, I could have done better.
Oh my gosh, I wish I knew different. I could have done better. I should have, because you were saying, imagine your spouse, the love of your life. Like, this is the person you've chosen to do life with, and then they die. And then you look at the rest of your life and you have these kids looking up to you saying, it's just me and these kids. You were supposed to do this with this person, and they're not there. They're no longer there. Like, I grieved my dad, and I was like, my dad should have been here longer. But I didn't grieve the way my mom was grieving in terms of she's lost her
Life partner.
Yeah. And that was sad.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Okay. Did you ever feel like you lost a sense of identity? You have your biggest cheerleaders gone. People identify you as so-and-so of so-and-so. In family and social contexts, now you have to almost introduce yourself as, the people stand with their families and say, this is, men like to do this, me, my wife, my kids. Then when you go to family gatherings, then there's no folks to introduce you. Did that ever happen in your case?
I can't remember much about gatherings after my dad. I think we also really just kept to ourselves.
Okay.
And over the years, I think just a wedding here, a wedding there, there's not really space for individual, acknowledgement and introductions.
Yeah.
But we'll share a short story regarding something that actually happened last year.
Okay.
It was the first time I was going back to my mom's home, where her mom and her dad used to live, who are now arrested. And the function was my dad, my guka, my mom's dad, who I was really close with.
Yeah.
His memorial, many years later, like maybe some 6 odd years later. And my siblings didn't go, and we didn't even discuss it. I knew I needed to go. And the reason for this was my mom, I like to believe, was the favorite child. She did a lot for her folks. They absolutely loved her. And me and my guka had a fantastic relationship. I mean, for me, it was us. He was my guy.
Yeah.
So I needed to go for this.
Yeah.
First time back shags. Never been there before without my... Ever since we were born, we had never gone there without my mom.
Yeah.
This is somewhere in Laikipia.
Yeah.
And my husband asks many times, are you sure about this? Do you really want to go?
Yeah.
I said, yeah. I don't know how it's going to be. I know this is not it's not a fun thing. It's not going to be cool.
Yeah.
But I want to do this. I want to honor my mom. She'd want me to go.
Yeah.
I want to do this. So I go there. Yeah. I was very, very, very emotional. You know, the way they say the waves of grief. That one, I think, was the whole ocean coming to hit me hard and fast.
Yeah.
But I remember when her siblings stood, the church, I think everybody has to be introduced. So where are the siblings? So all the siblings are told to stand. Then they leave a gap, and then they say, oh, so-and-so who rested used to be here. And then they call me to stand there. I don't think I've ever gotten over that. I think I just did it. I went with the emotions because I don't want to be disrespectful.
Yeah.
But I felt humiliated.
Why?
Because there's a gap. She's never going to be there. Why should I go and stand where she should have been standing? It had been barely over a year. I was like, wow, so I've had to deal with that and learn how to slowly, I guess, forgive that specific
Yeah.
incident.
Incident.
But that part of identity, then I was like, wow, I'm always going to be identified as
The
the
person
daughter
who
of the
stands
late
exactly.
so and so.
Exactly.
And that hit me. I was like, oh my God, I never really thought about it.
Yeah.
Or you have to introduce yourself to someone who you see, this was my mom's friend. Oh, by the way, I am so and so's daughter. Do you remember the one who?
You have to go.
Yeah. So yeah, of course you struggle with identity.
Yeah.
You struggle with
History. What about history? And trying to remember things, and they were the person that you went to for.
Funny enough,
Yeah.
my dad-in-law one day asked me, he's a really good storyteller,
Yeah.
and we'd gone over, some holiday
Yeah.
destination, over December, and he's such a fantastic storyteller. He's always telling us about family history, blah, blah, blah. And then he tells me, I'm always telling you so many stories. I want to hear stories about
Yeah.
your family. And I froze because I was like, wow, what do I know?
Exactly.
How much more do I like?
Yeah.
And I'm always telling my hubby, I wish my dad was here. He was an archivist, he was a
Yeah.
historian.
Yeah.
He knew all the people, the so and the who of the who did what in 1905 on 12th December.
Exactly. Yeah.
I miss that. So
I
I
know.
sometimes feel a part of our family history
died with them. Yeah.
And I don't think I'm going to go out and look for it.
Yeah.
So
and
identity gets
it
lost.
is the reality, and that's a because, like I said, they're your personal historian. Like you, even that small thing of saying, even before you go to the history of Kenya and the Mau Mau and whatever they did,
home.
What is that thing that I did when I was 4 years old?
Thank you. Or what time of the day was I born?
That's only your folks that know that.
Yeah,
so that
true.
part just dies with them, and you're like,
yeah.
Yeah. I keep saying, I think in every episode, my daughter, who's almost 9 now, doesn't have grandparents on either side.
Oh, okay. Wow.
She doesn't understand how I still have my grandfather, because my grandfather is still there. My grandfather, who's a dad to my mom. And we go to see him, and she insists, let's go see Guka, let's go see your Guka, let's go see your Guka. Where's my Guka? Things like that. And just getting to see them interact together, get so happy about like the fourth generation now from him. You're like, oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to go into something you've just mentioned, which is one of my questions, but a later one, but I'll bring it forward. This thing of going back to your mom's original home, where she'd come from, or even your parents' close friends. Who keeps that relationship? Because that relationship also looks like it can stay strong, or it can actually wither away. And the reason I'm asking this is because your parents had friends, right? They had, especially the BFFs, or maybe even their family members. Who keeps that relationship? Is it the siblings? Is it children who've been left behind? Is it you? Is it anybody else in your family? Who takes the initiative to say, maybe you should go visit mom's BFF? Do you do that?
No. Sorry to be so direct, but here's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
You see, I'm a child. Let me explain it. I'm the child here in this dynamic, and this dynamic of her BFFs who are her age mates, in this dynamic of my mom's siblings. I have, for a very long time, I guess after she rested, considered myself the child. So when I look at my children and I look at my sister who also has children, God forbid anything happens to me today, would I expect my baby Zana to persistently look for my sister or my brother, or I have a sister and a brother, persistently look for them to build a relationship? Whose responsibility is it is actually a $1 million question.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a sense of entitlement, I'll be honest. Like, wow, they should look for me. I'm the child. I'm grieving. I mean, in their eyes, in Kikuyu, you say, Demwana. I'm the baby,
Yeah.
There's no terminology for young adult in Kikuyu. It's Wemwana Kanamudo Muhima. You're a big person, adult, or you're a child.
Yeah.
So there's been a sense of, there's a sense of entitlement, like, you guys are not following up on us. We're the kids. We don't have folks. Some of those people you're saying who are my mom's friends and everything have their folks. So where do you draw the line? Okay, fine. I can say, to honor my mom's legacy or my dad's legacy, I'm going to look for these people. I just sort them out. Just tell me something more about my folks. I'm not there yet. 12, 13. I'm not there yet, and I don't think I'm ever going to push it. I think relationships should grow organically, and I think it's two-sided. So coming from a place where I said I was entitled, I no longer feel entitled. I've actually had to pray about it and just tell God, it's making me bitter, because the people you're expecting to be there for you, who are your folks' peers, there's a problem. They're not showing up. So relationships, like any other, are two-sided and they're organic. Should they
Yeah.
reach out, you're open-hearted and you do stuff, but not to an extent where I don't feel I'm in a safe space or it's
That's
consistent
very
trigger.
important. Yeah.
Yeah,
And even just doing it for the sake of doing it.
And
Yeah.
the
Like,
funny thing is, I keep telling my folks, my siblings and I agree.
Mm.
We knew what my mom felt about everybody under the sun.
She didn't
I
hide it.
knew what she felt about that lady and
Yeah.
about that sister and about
Yeah.
that brother. We knew because we were friends.
Of
And she'd be
course.
like, oh, here you can tell she was also struggling. Bad vibes here.
Yeah.
Or this is a really good person.
Yeah.
And I try a little bit, but I'm not going to go over myself. I'm still grieving. We're still in the journey. I still have to grieve with my children and my husband and try to figure out these new dynamics. So, kila mtu abebe msalaba wake.
That's very true.
Yeah.
The thing you said right now about not even being ready. And then that generation reaching out to us as the children, I 100% agree with that. When my dad died, my mom was 39. Again, I was just remembering it today when I was thinking about this episode. And I'm looking at 39 years old, 4 kids. What do you know? You don't know anything. Like, you're like, oh my God, where do I even start? So her friends stayed so close to her throughout that whole journey with my dad and his illness and his death. And then my brother got sick and again, he died. So again, her friends were really close with her. And then now she came in and she died. It took, I think she died in 2015.
Who's
somewhere.
that? Sorry.
This is my mom now who died last year. This is after my brother and after my dad. In 2015, when she died, about 5 years later, or is it 4 years later, in 2019, her friends came to visit us. Her friends just called us and said, we want you to come home. We want to come and see you. It's been 4 years. And that completely blew my mind because I don't think I would ever have gone, And the thing that they felt either obligated or they want to honor their friend by coming to look at where are the kids, how are they. And they came, they visited us, they had a meal with us, I think gave us some tokens or something like that. But it was really, really nice. And then again, back to the thing of, who they were closer to and who they were not closer to. Even today, my mom has many siblings. When I go to visit my Guka, now that guy, I knew how Kikuyus live around each other. I don't go to all my uncles. I go to my mom's sister. She's the only one who's remaining. So I only go to my mom's sister and to my grandfather. And that's it. The uncles are there. I'll talk to them on the phone every so often, but I'll never ever wake up and say, let me go and visit. But with my mom's sister, I feel that connection that had always been there with my mom and her. So I'm like, let me go visit her. And then lastly, this December, I told myself, let me go to visit my mom's BFF. I'd never done that now.
Wow.
That woman cried.
Oh.
She cried. She couldn't believe just looking at us and seeing us. She's like, oh, you guys actually thought of me and you came. Thank you so much. It was so I was like, I don't know why it's taken me 7 years to do this, but I guess it's part of my grief journey as well, because I couldn't come the first year or the second year. It took 7 years to actually me to say, now I'm ready to come and visit you. Yeah. And here we are. So, okay. Interesting. Goodness, this is a deep conversation. I wasn't even ready for this conversation at this point. Do you ever, and this one I almost even know the answer, do you ever feel like you miss one over the other parent, or even remember? No. How often they come to your mind?
So I'll go back to something I said earlier. You see, grief equals love. And how you grieve depends on how your relationship was with the person. So if you've had many years with somebody you really love, you're not going to grieve the same way if that person, you had less time with them. So I had less time with my dad, right? It was actually about 10, 11 years apart. And at 24, you're probably still at loggerheads. He's telling you, I want you to go do a master's.
Like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Which, by the way, he told me. And I had a whole year to do it because he said, I'm going to pay for you. You better take advantage. I was like, nah, nimesoma ya kutosha. Let me just do my life, But then, wow, it happened. I'm like, okay, now I have to pay from my own pocket. Damn, So at 24, your dynamics as when I'm now 34 and I lost my mom is different.
Different, very different.
So I did love. I was a daddy's girl. I mean, I went to the garage with my dad. I did everything with we were good people. We had a good relationship.
Yeah.
So now older, more dynamics. Your mom has seen through your wedding, your everything, your new. She's seen a lot more, and you've kind of also grown.
Yeah.
So obviously the depth of the missing is different, by virtue of that fact.
The relationships that existed and
so
the length of the time.
So that said, I obviously miss my mom more because of the time I had with her and the intricacies of our relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I see it also on my part. Again, my dad, teenage. What did I know at that time? Yeah.
Mm.
My mom, 26. I have a child. I have a family. I have a
Mm.
home now.
Mm.
She's actually in my house. She lived with me for about a year before she died. So
Wow.
we're friends. So
Mm.
she comes to me more than my dad does. And that's the same thing with my brother. I will think about my mom and my brother more than my dad, just because it's been maybe 20 years, 20 years since he died.
Mm.
And I only knew him for 13. So I've actually grieved
Yeah,
him longer than I
you've
even
known
knew
him.
him, you know. So that's the other reality of losing your parents quite early.
Yeah.
But okay, interesting.
Yeah, but you know, in terms of some things that are patriarchal,
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, these guys wouldn't be talking to me like this if I had a dad. You know, sometimes I felt that way. I'd
Yeah.
be like, some of the things that have happened, I'm like, guys would just take advantage because there's no patriarch.
Yeah.
He's not there.
Yeah.
And they'll take advantage and not do certain things or do certain things in a way
Because they
he's
know.
not there.
Yeah.
So
And
hamna
nobody
msima,
will
you
do
know, you don't have
anything.
like somebody representing you
Yeah.
from
Or
that
saying,
perspective.
no, this is a...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's explore that emotions, because we discussed emotions when we spoke on the phone the other day, and the emotions that you went through, especially with this last one for your mom. One of the things that people obviously struggle with is anger, and you're wondering, who am I even angry at this point? Is it even at the person who's died? Because why have they died? Like, why did you die? You know, or anger at society, or anger at doctors, or at, if it's the disease itself. Did you struggle with these emotions, and which ones exactly do you struggle with these emotions? Is the question.
Yeah, thank you for rephrasing.
Yes. Do you struggle?
I've struggled with all the emotions, and I don't believe that grief has phases, to be honest. I think it's just something psychologists, you know, gotta do. You know, as an academic, I can't really bash them, but you know, they have to do what they have to do. But I think they're not hard and fast rules. It's not cast in stone.
Yeah.
So, you know, they say fast anger, fast that. I'm like, nah, it doesn't work like that. The reality on the ground is very different.
Yeah.
So have I felt all the emotions? Yes. Have I felt each singularly, one at a time? Yes. Have I felt all of them
At once?
all at once? Yes. And have I felt nothing? Absolutely yes.
Yeah.
You talked about anger. So yes, anger, you know, you're angry about a lot of stuff, but I think it's important to also understand the source of the anger, because I feel, and I've had this from a lot of people, even when I went through Grief Share, and we had, you know, we had a community of people in the same, our club.
Yeah.
And you find that sometimes you also overdo it. You overdo it, meaning like you take out anger on the wrong people and on the wrong thing.
Yeah.
So that's why you need Grief Share. You need a community.
Yeah.
You need therapy. You need a good support system to, you know, someone kind of keeping you in check. Like, now you're just using me as a punching bag. You know, sorry, dear husband. And thank you for your patience. Yeah. So the anger is there. You know, it's holiday. We just came out from a holiday season.
Yeah.
Christmas, birthdays, anniversary, we're getting to mommy's memorial next month. Why do other people have their mummies and I don't have my mommy?
Very real questions, very real emotions.
Why don't I? My mom used to call me every day, almost 100 times a day, and every phone call would end with "I love you." Then you know, people around you, whether it's your in-laws or some friends, they withhold. I don't know how to say it without you know, saying it, but there are people who are just emotionally detached. It's their personality, their upbringing, etc. So you lack that compassion that your mom gave you.
Yeah.
Like my mom literally called me anytime I'd feel bad, "Mommy, please pray for me. I'm feeling low." Or I'd leave my house on Kiambu Road and drive all the way to her house in Langata on a bad day. Tell her, "Mommy, so just cook for me chapo. Just chapo na chai yako ya masala and I'll be good."
She'll be fine.
And that's mommy care. That was self-care for me. That I kind of hid myself in my mom. She was my rock. She was everything. You don't get that from anybody else.
That's true.
Nobody can replicate that. Even the motherly love.
Yeah.
Because now my nickname is from Muthoni is Sona. So she's like, "Sona, mommy, everything." And I'm like, wow, like I miss that. I miss the random verses, the funny memes she gets from her women groups.
And then she'll
that
just
she send, you know,
share.
everything. Or the stories which start from Timbuktu before they get to the end.
point.
I miss all that. So yes, I'm angry sometimes, and it's something I'm perpetually working on. Like I don't want to be a bitter person. I don't want my grief to make me bitter, but I want it to make me better, more compassionate, more empathetic to people. Yeah, felt angry at God. Why us? A second parent? Come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I
know.
mean, what did we do that was so bad? You know, what did we do? Why do those people have their mommy?
Yeah.
And we don't have our mommy?
Yeah.
Why do those guys have folks?
We don't.
How comes these folks have lived to 100 years?
And you're like,
Man, my dad rested at 55 and my mom 64. I'm like, guy, I didn't even get a chance to buy her a nice, those scarves for old ladies. Those nice silk scarves.
Yeah.
I had it all planned out. Like we take her for makeup, we take her for a shoot.
I know.
And I was like, it's life has felt unfair for a really long time. But when I said that I love Jesus, I meant it, because that's the only place I can hide.
Yeah.
Because he
Find
says
your
in his
solace.
word that he is close to the brokenhearted. That gives me comfort.
Okay.
That he binds up our wounds. I mean, it must count for something, right?
It must.
It must count for something.
Whew. My dad died at 45. I was looking at my partner and I'm telling him, you're 43. You're about to get to 45.
Wow. I know that feeling. I know that
wait,
feeling.
you're approaching those years where those guys are like, okay, but I have my uncles, his brothers who are above 70, and my gramps who's above 95. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As I get to wind up, maybe two more questions. Let's talk about the relationship with your siblings. You said you have a brother and a sister.
Yeah.
I also have a brother and a sister remaining. Did that relationship get closer, or were there moments where it sort of drifted in a sense because of now the loss of the second parent? And the loss of the second parent almost feels like glue has melted. The person was the glue for the family after the first parent died, and then you rallied around the second parent. Now it's the mother or the remaining parent, in our case the mother, and the kids. When that one now goes, and they're not there anymore, how is the relationship with the siblings?
I feel like you've been in my head. Have you been listening to my conversations?
I have planted cameras in your house.
I think so. It's the same thing I've actually thought about, and I have shared with my partner.
Yeah.
When you're a nice, close-knit family, and you have the glue. So mommy is the glue here, okay? When your shoe has glue, it's a perfect shoe. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It keeps everything together.
It does.
You look amazing, and it pairs with any fabric, and even through the worst weather, your shoe is intact. When the glue comes off, you realize, kumbe, the help never used to wash nicely. So there's like some changa, some dirt that would go inside the shoe. And you're like, you mean this is how the dirt feels on my toes?
Yeah.
Like, what? It's so windy nowadays, So what I'm just trying to say is when the glue is no longer there, I feel relationships are exposed for really what they are.
Actually are.
So there's not been any drama. There's not been any beef. There's not been any antagonistic sort of issues. And you've loved each other. You've actually been really there. I really thank God my siblings and I love each other extremely.
Yeah.
And life things have brought us together.
Okay.
But life would have it such that when the glue is no longer there, everything gets exposed. But there's other dynamics to that, and there are other variables. Everybody's grieving. So it might look as if, yes, the glue kept us together, but even when the glue was keeping us together and went through stuff, we were not really disintegrated or fragmented.
Yeah.
Now the glue is not there. You're not exposed. How you handle stuff is different.
Yeah, and it's
so you can
exposed.
choose to take it personally or choose to be compassionate and understand that everybody is going through something.
Yeah.
Each of us will grieve differently.
Yeah.
Maybe for me, it's being a recluse. Maybe for me, I want to talk, I want to meet, I want us to keep, I want to be the glue.
Exactly.
I want to replicate.
Stand in the gap.
And that will disappoint you because people are not ready. They can't be ready on your cue.
And then you won't play the part that the parent.
You can never replace what your parent did. Because all birthdays, ever since I was a baby, even when I got married, they were in my mother's house. She said, whether you're 100, we'll do birthdays. So my sister and my brother and, we'd always have our birthdays. So now that was always, and we have many birthdays because we have many children and grandchildren.
Yeah.
So all of them now, every month or something.
Yeah.
She's no longer there. So we're not going to meet as often. And when you reach out to someone, they're like, oh, I'm not feeling so, sort of I'm not feeling okay, or I'm traveling, there's work or something. And you learn to take a step back and not be entitled, that word again, not being entitled, taking your siblings just for where they are and how they are, and praying and trusting that God one day will help you guys gel the best way he thinks you should gel. Yeah.
And you can't also take monopoly of grief over your parents, over your siblings. Like you can't be like, I'm the one who's going to cry the most. I'm the one who is.
Oh wow!
Everybody,
absolutely not.
This is what their parents do, right?
Absolutely.
This is their mom and dad. This is their mom and dad. They have lost their parents too,
absolutely.
like you have.
Absolutely.
You cannot take it away from them and say, no, she was living in my house. She actually died in my house, so it's me who is grieving the most.
No, you can't
cannot do that.
Even just as we're talking about that, we talked about relatives earlier. So my mother's siblings or my dad's siblings, we're a little estranged, but you know what? I'm looking at them with different lenses. With eyes
their
of
sister.
compassion. You
It's
shared
like
a womb.
it's your sister.
Yeah. So if your grief takes you away from us and not bring us together, it's okay.
It's fine.
It's fine. I understand that, and I choose to look at things positively.
Yeah.
And one day, maybe in life, we'll connect before it's too late.
Yeah.
And even if we don't, it's okay. I'm at peace.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you lost a sense of home now that they're both not there? What was home has changed.
Hey.
It's now a house.
Wow.
How is that? Because you feel like, do I even want to go? The whole thing about going to your mom's for all birthdays. How is that now?
Obviously, that doesn't happen. So we have no home. We have no home because home is where mommy is, and mommy is no longer there. So even if she lived in the woods, that would be home. So now it's a house.
It's a house
that's been taken up by a tenant. So the house exists, but it's not home.
Yeah.
So home is anywhere mommy would be, and she's no longer there.
Yeah.
So I keep saying I have no home to go to. I really don't.
Yeah.
My home becomes where I create,
Yeah.
my husband and my children. And it took me a long time to wrap my head around that. I would find myself, I told you I live on Kiambu Road and my mommy's house is on in Langata. I'd find myself, because this is the road I go, so often, and I find myself, I'm like, oh wow, where am I going?
Yeah.
There's nobody home.
Yeah.
And that's hurt. That's hurt a lot. That nobody else's home will ever feel like what our home felt.
It does.
Our home was our safety net, was our refuge, was our tower, was where mommy is. Everything is okay. Like would literally, even my sister, leave wherever she's like, Mom, I just want to lie on your bed. Okay. Literally, like mommy was, oh mommy, I just want to wear your nice. Let me tell you, home was everything.
Yeah.
Even for my family, like my husband. Every time I'd go now, my shenanigans, I go and spend the whole day with her. And it's like, okay, so you use one car so you come and pick me from work and we go home. She would always cook him mandazi and
nice.
chai ya masala. And I would be, usishike izo mandazi ni za my son. So for him, he also had that, this is home, had that relationship. So there's no home. And let's not even camouflage or there's no home.
It's true.
We don't have a
the
home.
house is there.
Exactly.
My brother lives there, but it never ever feels like what it felt.
It can't.
When mom was around.
Yeah. And you see, like now for us where they're buried, when other people with parents are going home to take shopping, to take flowers, to visit, I'm going to a graveyard. That's home. I know they're not there spiritually, but it's the closest. You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying.
That's home.
Okay. Another thing that I read up, which is my last question to you before we go into tips that have worked for you, that can work for our audience. You brought in your partner and you also brought in your dad-in-law. He has his both parents?
My husband, yes.
He does.
My folks-in-law are.
So I read an interesting thing, and I've told you this earlier on, which is, again, back to the emotions that people go through and struggling with. When you're in a relationship and you have a spouse or a partner, and you have lost both your parents, and he or she has their parents together, does that get to you? Do you feel some type of way? Do you ever catch yourself lashing out and thinking, am I lashing out because he actually has his parents and I don't? If it doesn't, it's fine.
Yeah.
What do you think about that first?
First and foremost, I'm extremely happy that he is not part of this club.
I know.
I'm happy because for me sometimes to say that, I wish, and sometimes I've told him, I wish you understood me better on my grief journey. And you will agree with me that the spouses don't quite can't quite get it because they're not a member. And for them to then understand it means they have to be a member, and you don't want that for them.
That's true.
Absolutely. So I'm very glad that he doesn't have that. Yeah. They've had near instances, but nothing permanent. Yeah. And I really thank God for that. And my folks-in-law are fantastic people. However, have I felt some type of way? Absolutely.
Thank you for being honest.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to be honest. People don't talk about these things as often as they should. I do. I wish I had a place to call home. Sometimes I have looked for my mommy's love in my in-laws and it's not been forthcoming.
Or when you see maybe your partner fighting with his folks or with his, like I tell my partner all the time, call your mom.
Yeah, okay. Him not fighting.
Them.
Yeah, I do. What I do, he doesn't fight with his folks, but guilt trip him, like, have you called mommy?
Yeah, why
Buy
haven't
her
you?
flowers.
Yeah.
Go and see her. It's Valentine's. It's no, 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 no.
And you almost be
I
like,
do.
if I, if I had my mom, I
Oh,
could have.
I've done that a lot.
I do that
Yeah,
all the
it's wrong, but and I've done that a lot. But I think sometimes
because
it's
you
bad
mean
good
well,
behavior.
but yeah, but you
Yeah,
definitely
it's
mean
bad
well,
good
yeah.
behavior.
But
So yeah, so I've looked for love. I've looked for my folks' love in his folks, and it's been disastrous.
because it's not supposed to be there.
It's not supposed to be
Yeah.
there. They have different
It's a very different
personalities. I'm not their
relationship to you.
biological
Exactly.
child.
Yeah.
I told you, my mommy was like, I love you, mommy, I love you. Like, you're sad. Let's talk about it. What's going on? My grandfolks, my folks-in-law are not like that. They're
You told me
very,
about
yeah.
your her relationship with your kids.
Yeah, I
Your
mean,
moms.
they're very, they're very laid back. They're
Yeah.
very, arm's length kind
Yeah.
of people. And us guys were all over in your face. We love you 10 times. In fact, my husband struggled when he came into our family. He's
Yeah.
like, those
There's
are
a
like
lot of
10
love
I love
going
yous. Yeah,
round.
a lot of love yous, a lot of hugs. And now he loves it because my kids are like that. My
Yeah.
kids are just these balls of just willing to give you love.
Yeah.
And he loves it now. He's like, wow, I love this for us. So
Okay.
I felt some type of way. Sometimes I felt like you're not doing enough.
Exactly.
But I've also caught myself not trying to replace
Your parents.
my parents. They are irreplaceable.
They are. They definitely
They're
are.
irreplaceable.
Okay. Do you struggle with having to feel like you have to honor your parents' I don't know if it's call them obligations. Dad would have wanted me to do this, let me do this. Maybe it's not something that you want to do, or mom would have wanted me to do this, let me do this. Do you ever struggle with things like that? Having to feel, I'd rather not do this, but since mom would have wanted to, because a lot of people are stuck in would have wanted,
Should have wanted me to go here
let
or do
me,
this.
and feel like you're living their life, not yours.
Nope.
Okay,
Because of the kind of relationship I had with my folks.
Which is good.
My folks were like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
What does that look like for you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We'll support you.
Okay.
Oh, you want if and I'm not. If I told my parents I want to be an artist.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Where do we buy the canvas?
That's
Where is
really
the
good.
paintbrush?
That's good.
As opposed to, now artist, mtapata pesa aje?
Yeah.
How will you
My
feed
mom
yourself?
wanted me to be an engineer. Let me go out and do
Exactly.
it. I mean,
No,
a lot
my
of people are struggling with that,
Yeah.
especially in the younger and maybe it's because of how old you are when you lost your dad also, and even your mom now.
I think it's just their personality.
And
They
their
were
personality
pretty
also.
easygoing, very liberal.
Yeah.
We did a lot of non-conventional stuff. My dad knew I had a tattoo in my second year of campus. Didn't tell my mom for an entire year.
Yeah.
Sees me getting out, like, okay, so now this
Pretty
one means what?
non-conventional.
So now,
Pretty non-conventional,
So
for sure. Yeah.
in terms of in that aspect, the only thing I think about, because my mom was a church leader and she really loved God. Like everything we know about Jesus is because of
from
my
her.
mom, our
Yeah.
faith, our hope, even of seeing her in the future,
Yeah.
So it's just like, now I'm reacting this way. What would Madi tell me? What would the God, I say, what would the God of Agnes have me do? So that is how I, from those lens.
Which is a good lens. The one that I struggle with, and I think you should not, and this is not for audience, if you're out there feeling like you owe it to your parents to fulfill some of the stuff, I think you need to find a balance between what is yours, what is theirs, what is sustainable, what is realistic. Don't kill yourself with, I have to do this, because my folks are looking down on me and they say, why are you not doing this thing?
Exactly.
Live your life. Find spaces in which you can honor them. If it's going back to where they originally came from, if it's interacting with their friends, if it's their memorials, just whatever it is.
If it's your value system,
if it's a value system, but do not hold back on things that you want to do because your parents they're not here. That's a reality.
Yeah.
They're not here.
And they'd be proud of you, I think.
They want you, to live your life, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So tips. I don't know if there are any tips. But are there anything that you want to leave our audience with in terms of just that thing of losing both parents? What would you say in conclusion to somebody who's out there like us? Could be very fresh for them. Even for you, it's actually very fresh because it's just a year ago. Or maybe 2 years ago. What would you say to somebody who's just recently coming to, oh my gosh, I am now an orphan?
Yeah.
What does that journey look like for them next couple of years?
I'm not going to romanticize it. I'm just going to tell it as it is.
Yeah.
Losing both parents is a tragedy. Because, when you have one like we did for about 11 years, you're like, wow, I have this one. I was gripped with so much fear over life. Just, God, please don't take my mom. I used to make those prayers like, this is the only parent we have. Please don't take her away. So it's tragic and it's terrible. And everybody will look happier and it look like you don't have it all together. But I just think one foot in front of the other. Do the next right thing. What does that right thing look like to you? Is it going to the gym so that you can expend your energy? Is it just choosing to sit in God's presence, even if you're silent. Just sit in his presence and allow yourself to be in that safe space. Don't be too hard on yourself. Does it get easier? No, it doesn't get easier. I just said, one foot in front of the other, do the next right thing.
Yeah.
If the next right thing means listening to a song you like that's gonna make you happy, blast it, fine. If the waves come in the supermarket, allow yourself to feel.
Yeah.
If they feel in the parking lot, let them be. If you just want to scream and shout, do all that. But then when you're out of that emotion, then enjoy the next emotion. When a remembrance comes in, run with it, just one day at a time. There's no formula. It doesn't get easier, but you do get more grace to carry it.
Yeah. And there's no moving on. You will
move
get
forward.
through.
You actually
you move through.
You don't move on. You move forward with your grief.
Yeah.
So even as the world moves on, everybody goes back to their modus operandi. Everybody goes back to their lives, and yours looks like you're stuck. It's a dark space. There's no light. Hang in there. Hang in there. Hang in there.
We should have you more often. But in your last words, I had a bonus question.
Right.
Does losing both parents, or maybe even one parent, whatever the case is, does it make, and now that you're a parent yourself, does it make you very fearful for your own kids not to ever go through that? Like, you know how it feels to not have a dad, not have a mom. Do you ever worry about when their time comes, and do you ever think about things like that?
That's such a valid question.
Yeah.
Of course I do. So I said I have a 5-year-old, I have a 3-year-old, and I have on Saturday a 2-year-old.
Okay, happy birthday.
So yeah, to him, hey Eliron. So I do worry about my children.
Yeah.
I do worry about them. But I'll tell you something, and I don't mean to sound cliche. Being in God makes you know that you don't have control over any of anything. You're just a custodian of these children. You're just a custodian. The best I can do is live my best life now with my children. There's never a day I have doubted that my parents loved me to bits, to smithereens, like everything about their lives. Even afterwards, you realize things they did and they had us in mind, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
Thank you, God, for my folks.
Yeah.
For me, I've just decided not to live in fear, because it can grip you.
It can.
Like, oh my gosh, I'm only 37.
So limiting, you can't even move.
Yeah, my husband is going to his mid-40s. My dad died at 50. But that's the devil. I'll be honest. You cannot be reminded about such things. So for me, it's to ask God to give us a long heritage of life.
Thank you.
To guard our children, to protect them.
And to be there for
to
them
be there
the
for
best
them.
way we can.
Exactly. And help me just enjoy the here and the
real-
now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much, Muthoni.
Thank you for
coming
having
to the
me.
episode.
Thank you for
that
having
was
me,
such
Rose.
a fulfilling and enlightening episode. I this conversation was one of the heavier ones for me. And I actually also never talked about the death of my parents. I've just never ever also talked about it.
It's gonna be
this,
okay.
So.
We're gonna.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for watching till the end. Remember to subscribe, share with somebody who would need this episode. Let us know in the comment section if you are relating to any of the stuff that we're saying here. Thank you for always watching, and follow us on our socials. Peace.